Okay, like the title says, it's the Celticwerks CW3501 T-55 strip motor compartment. What you get in the set are 5 highly detailed resin parts. You get the firewall, you get the floor, you get the fan shroud rear wall, and you get 2 side walls. Very thin, they're about 1 millimeter thick. That way it looks accurate in there. And here I have one of the compartments in a Tamiya kit, the newer Tamiya kit hull. What I did was I built it as a drop-in, because on another video I'm going to show how to paint this up. Okay, on the Tamiya kit lower hull, you have that molded on rear plate. What you want to do is carefully remove that and then glue the kit rear plate back on, right over where it's supposed to be. And there are 2 axle hubs. Those you have to remove. That way you can just drop the floor plate right up in there, nice and snug and flat down. All the parts are a good fit in there. They're cast in some thin resin, but the walls are about 1 millimeter thick, and they're highly detailed. And you just want to be careful when you're removing the casting blocks. Okay, especially on the rear fan, you want to cut it down on an angle, and the bottom of the floor requires a lot of sanding. As with any resin set, any type of resin you're working with, highly recommend a dust mask, ventilation, and safety glasses. Can't stress it enough. It's like with anything, you know, safety first. Alright, this is going to be the build of this set, and in another video I'm going to do the painting of the motor compartment, just to help you out, show you what you can do with it, make it look nice and old and rusty. Well, I hope the video helps you out if you are installing one of these, purchasing one of these. Have fun, enjoy.
Okay, here we go. Here's a closer look at the parts. I've cleaned them all up. You can see I kind of hacked up one of these culls I have. This is the one I showed you before, still with the casting block on it. I used one of the reject ones to do the review, and I kind of got most of it off already. It's not perfect, but it's a reject part. I'm not going to build this into a kit anyways. It's just for the review. Now I've got the fan shroud all cleaned up, ready to go, which sits back there. Both side pieces, they're nice and thin. Fine detail on there. You do have to be careful. This bottom section here is very thin. It's about a 20 thousandths, 15 thousandths next to the final drives. Both those parts are cast really nice and thin. And you got a firewall. And I've already taken out the middle section. There's another section here we can just pop right out. It's very thin. And just use your knife. Rough opening. Then you can just clean it up with some files. Another one there. Don't mind the music in the background. I'm listening to Rap Patrol Radio and they have Christmas music on, which is appropriate since it's almost Christmas anyways. Get me in the mood, I guess. Okay, there it is. Like I said, you can use some files, clean it up a little bit. Using some metal files. Not going to do all of it, just to give you an idea. You can leave those in place, those 3 if you'd like, if you're not going to show the rest of the interior. Now, Celticwerks will be releasing in the next few months a wreck T-55 interior, so it would work out pretty good with these parts here. So that's cleaned up. These are all cleaned up, ready to go. Okay, on the lower hull of the Tamiya kit, marked it in white, these two axle hubs have to go, okay, or else they get in the way of the floor. And this rear plate has to go. There is another plate that gets glued onto the rear, so this isn't that important. This is mainly to hold the fuel tank, the fuel drum racks, the mounts. I've already did some in there, some scribing with the knife, just to speed things up a bit. That'll come off easily. Take the trusty old razor saw. Just cut straight down. Doesn't have to be too pretty. Like I said, I scribed the bottom already, so it makes it a lot easier. And we'll just clean it up a little bit. Some nail files, works great. And I want to get it pretty much flush with this part here. One, there's two. Not too worried about the floor part itself. Here we can just square that off. Okay, now this floor will sit right in place, right up to the rear, and you'll also get these side parts that will go right to the rear, like that. Okay, if we kept that in place with that thickness, this would be pushed out, and then, which means this rear wall would protrude further past the top plate on the upper rear hull, which isn't accurate. Alright, next we'll take care of those little hubs there. I would use my grinding wheel for it, but I don't want it to be too loud. Might have to. And we'll take some snippers. That'll take care of that. And we can just clean it up. You basically want to remove that from there. I'm not too worried if I nick the sides of the lower hull. Those areas are getting covered anyways. Just want to make sure it's flush. And you can use the floor part to check and make sure you got enough out. And basically that's it. It'll sit right now like that. So now we'll get that rear plate. Okay. Got all that cleaned up, cut out, sanded down, holes drilled, squared off. Still needs a little sanding, but that's good enough for now. So that will fit right on there like that. Back plate lines up. And that resin set basically is just to fill that void in there. So the first part to be installed is turret floor. Okay, remember those two nubs that we cut out? That's to allow that to sit right in that one spot right there. Okay, I'm just going to dry fit everything first. I know it fits, so I'm not going to glue it yet. Okay, next take your side pieces. They slide right in behind there and right up against the wall. The next one, same thing. This little corner here will fit right in behind there. Just like that. Next piece to install is the fan shroud and the rear wall. And it sits right back there. See right on that side, there's that little square portion and that strip there. That's where the back of this sits up against. You just drop it in. Now it fits pretty good. Keep in mind it's not glued in place yet, but I mean nothing's flying around anywhere. We'll just take a little test fit here and see what it's going to look like. That's basically it, huh? Looks pretty good. Other than that little screw up there, I'm sure you'll go a little slower, be more careful than I am here. I'm just trying to get this done for the review. Next is the firewall. That fits right in place like that. Make sure it's right back to the beginning there. The sides are lined up. Again, a dry fit. There it is. Of course, you'll want to glue it up. I've already used some of these components in my T-69 that I'm working on. Of course, for T-69 it has a larger fan shroud, so I had to scratch build that wall all over again. Basically, that's what it looks like. In this model here, the firewall is all blown to pieces, so we don't need one in there. And this, what you see in here is basically some of the castings from the wrecked interior that Celticwerks and myself are working on. Basically, it'll include the side pieces, floor, firewall, a few other parts, and ultimately there'll be some turret parts as well, gun breech mount. So you can see what it looks like. I'll probably end up gluing this all up, even though these are the rejects, but I'll glue them up, and the next video we'll paint that, or we'll paint this one of the two. Basically, that's how you install the motor compartment set, the strip motor compartment. Pretty simple. Spend more time cleaning the parts up. You know, if you're careful, it takes long. You know, if you do it quick like I did, you chew it up there and hack a couple other parts up. But like I said, I have quite a few of these reject parts. There you go. So I got plenty to play around with. Alright, that's it for the Celticwerks CW3501 strip T-55 motor compartment. 5 parts. I think they're cast pretty damn good. Except for these are rejects, of course, but the master molds, the castings are coming out perfect. No air bubbles, nothing. And there's a lot of fine detail, some wiring, a lot of nuts and bolts, some welds around the motor mount. You have welds in there, all around the sides. That's about it. I'd like to thank you all for checking out the video and hopefully purchasing one of these sets. I'd like to see a lot more of these T-55 wrecks or Afghan graveyard vehicles on the internet besides mine. Alright, next video will be painting this sucker.